welcome back to English Champion. On this episode, I'm going to cover a topic that may ruffle some feathers, might be fairly controversial for some of you. I'm going to critique something that is becoming much more common, has been for a while, but is basically the indicator of where education is going. And I'm not a big fan of it, and I'm going to tell you why in the moments to come. That topic is online education. This isn't new. We've been having online schools both at the college level and even at the K through 12 level for quite a while, but this is where colleges are going for a variety of reasons, mostly for money reasons. And I want to share 10 reasons here why online education is really, really not good and why we need to be much more careful in how we decide which schools we participate with, how quick we are to accept the appealing nature of online education, because there are a lot of problems that no one talks about. Everyone only talks about the positives, and that's of course very appealing to those students out there. And no one ever thinks about all the big problems with them. And so I'm going to give you 10 big problems with online education here today. Now, as I dive into what online learning is, I want to make a very clear distinction that I'm not talking about voluntary learning that anyone can do at any time via an online format. Okay, so we all do that all the time. If there's something we want to learn and it's just for ourselves, I want to learn a new recipe, or how do I use this cooking method? Of course, I go onto YouTube and I hear some chef demonstrate it and learn from it. That's totally fine. If there's other forms of skill development or just knowledge acquisition that you want to do on your own, that's great. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about online education in a formalized format where it's part of a grade progression. It's part of your schooling where you get there's a graduation or you get a diploma or a certification. Like, you have to do it for someone else, basically. Your parents are making you do it. The school system makes you do it. The colleges make you do it, whatever it is. So that's a distinction I want to make. People learn on their own all the time, and doing things online can be very helpful. We all do it. But I'm talking about formalized schooling and using the online format as being something that's supposedly similar to the traditional in-person format. So that's the distinction I want to make. I even run, an online platform where I help people, but that's all done voluntarily. It's for people who want to do it on their own, not because it's part of some certification program or some sort of, means to earn a diploma. So that's a big distinction I want to make right out of the gate. Yes, we all understand the benefits. It's very convenient. It gives people access who might live in very far away places, who don't live near a university. We all understand the positives. And again, those are very appealing for students who think they want to improve themselves and see online learning as a way to do that. So I'm not ignoring all the benefits. I get it. But sometimes these students or these families who are thinking about this aren't thinking about the whole picture. As I've said before, I've taught both in person and online. I've taught online at major state universities as well as small private universities. So it doesn't matter, big, small, public, private, I've done it all. And I'm going to illustrate for you some of the big problems I've seen regardless of the situation, because what goes on happens everywhere. So that's why I want to share it with everyone, so that you might think, well, that might happen at that type of school, but I'm going to go to this school and they're really good at this. Like, nope, trust me, this happens everywhere, and I want to help you make good decisions about that. I was in some of my teaching positions, I have had some leadership roles where it was my job to hire other teachers, and I was very hesitant about hiring people who had a degree from an online program. Maybe they did their master's degree or something in an online format. And it's not like I wouldn't hire them, but I was very, very careful. I did a much more thorough job of interviewing them and looking into their background than I did with people that I met in person. And couple reasons for that were we know the quality of online education is simply not the same as in person. And so when I see someone with an online degree, again, this is a generalization. I'm not saying everyone is like this, but there is a bit of a red flag where I go, did you receive the quality of education that the rest of us did who took classes in person and had to interact with people and be challenged in person by our professors or by our colleagues? That's a very different environment to learn in. And I wonder if yours was as rigorous as mine was or other scholarly people. And so I was very hesitant in putting those employees in a scholarly situation. The other thing is just from a people standpoint, in my field anyway, this may not be true for every field, but in my field, your whole job is interacting with people. And yet you chose to set aside a large chunk of your life to purposefully not interact with people. So that's a bit of a red flag. Like, you want a job where your primary function is to engage with people and have challenging discussions and just be around others where you're tackling ideas in the same time and space, and you chose to not do that, and now you want a job where you have to do that. That concerned me. So again, I had to be extra careful when I dealt with people who had online backgrounds, and I doubt I'm the only one. So you're going to encounter other employers out there who might look at your online degree and go, wait a second, do they have the scholarship? Do they have the rigor, the intellectual challenges of an in-person academic experience, or that they would have had in an in-person academic experience? And then also, if the job requires you to be around people, why did you not want to be around people? What's going on with you that there's that disconnect? So these are reasons why I think we need to be much more careful, not only from the education standpoint, but even the hiring standpoint, how you go advance in your career. So back to the academics, though. Here are 10 reasons why online education has lots of things to be very leery of. And let's dive in. The first, if you know anything about communication and media, you would have heard of Marshall McLuhan talk about how the medium is the message, and how the format in which you take in information via some form of media changes depending on the format. And so what educators and administrators and these designers of these online platforms think is, well, we'll take the in-school environment and we'll just put it online. It's still the same. You're still being educated. We're just taking your education that would occur here, and now we're going to put it over here. It's the same, but except now you get to do it from your home in your pajamas, but it's all the same. And the answer to that is no, it's not at all, because the medium has shifted. The medium of being in person in a classroom, talking directly to a professor or with your classmates, is an entirely different medium than staring at a screen and doing things via video or typing back and forth to people, all that. The medium is the message. So what that means is the medium informs you of how you interact with it. When you're around people in person, you receive cues on how you're supposed to engage with the other people in that environment. Well, a screen or your laptop or your cell phone or an iPad or whatever medium you're using to do your online schooling, the screen tells you how to interact. Well, it says, touch here, swipe there. You don't have to look at that. Go past it. Click around all over the place. You can't do any of that stuff when you're having a conversation with a professor live in person. So the medium changes everything. And so what no one seems to realize is, and I realized this most recently because I had a bit of a gap between my online teaching experience. I taught about 10 years ago online, and I just did it because I was like, well, I should probably get some experience doing this. And I didn't like it, so I got out of it after about 2 years. But then recently I needed to do it again, and I started seeing all of these things. And one was how students interact with the platform. I paid much more attention to that. What no one considers is that the way an 18-year-old interacts with a screen is completely different than what you think they do. You think, as the teacher or the administrator who's promoting these silly online programs, you think, well, it's just the same information. Instead of a person lecturing, it's a video. Instead of a class discussion, it's a discussion board. It's all the same. No, it's not even close. What a student does, or any kid, and even us as adults, what we do when we look at a screen is we don't treat it like a classroom. We treat it like any other online platform. Well, like what? Like your Instagram page, like your Spotify list, like your Netflix account, like your email, like anything. Everything that's on a screen, because the medium has informed us of how to interact with it, everything that's on a screen is clickable. Everything is, I can get rid of it whenever I want. I can change my mind and click on something else. Really, I don't have to stay on anything because the medium allows me, and actually, it's actually better if I can click around. And so that's what students do. The students don't look at your online class, your learning management system, like they do as a classroom, a place to read deeply and be engaged in serious discussion and ask important questions and and treat it like a normal classroom environment. They treat it like their Netflix page where they go, I'll click on that for 2 seconds. Oh, don't like it. Get rid of it. Let's click on this now. Oh, not interested. Get rid of it. What's this mean? Oh, I don't know. I'll read it, but I don't know what it means. So I guess I have to go now look up over here what this means. It's constant distraction. It's clicking around in a haphazard way because that's what we do with everything. If I go on Google, I do a search on Google. I get 30 things that pop up. I click on one, I look at it for 2 seconds, I go, it's not what I want. Click on another thing. Read that for 2 seconds, not what I want. You're constantly all over the place. And that's what happens with students in an online environment. And you think that leads to them having deep, engaged, complicated, mental activities? No. The screen has been teaching them their whole life that here's what you do. Click, 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 swipe, swipe, swipe. That's education in an online environment. Is that what we want? I don't think education should be the same as clicking on my Netflix on my television. I don't think education should be the same as when I scroll through my Spotify list and want to listen to music. I don't think it should be like Instagram or Twitter where you just go like this. That's the problem. We think that they're the same. Online, in person, we just take that and move it online. Nope, it's a completely different thing. And your students do not interact with the screen, the online platform, the way you think they do. And until educators realize that, we're going to continue to see poor learning outcomes from the online environment. So never forget that the medium changes everything. The medium holds the message within it. You think you can take the message from the classroom and just put it online? No, the medium changes it instantly. Right when it moves over, it's totally different, and the students don't receive it the same. Number two, sort of along that line of how we interact with the medium, is that this type of education perpetuates a checklist mentality. I discovered this most recently when I was teaching online, where I would have students work on various projects and they would think, okay, well, I did that, now what? I did that, now what? I was like, well, you didn't do it. I need you to do this complicated task. And they saw it as, I just do this little thing and I just finish it. Because that's what you do in every other online platform. Again, you look at it, you listen to the song, you go to the next song. You watch the TV show, you go to the next TV show. The idea of going more deeply into your skills, that's not how their brains engage with the material. So what I started noticing with my most recent batch of students was, all they wanted to do was go down the list. And what that also did is they couldn't see other things on the platform where I would say, here's your task, but here's these other materials. They're over in this other link. So while you're here, you need to go read these things too. They wouldn't even pay attention to that because they would see the material in front of them as the only thing that exists. Just like on your Spotify list, like that song is in a list of songs and that's all that matters. They don't go explore other things. So again, I don't think this is what education should be. I don't think education should just be a list of tasks that you accomplish. Yeah, that happens in a classroom where you've got, in my classes, we have 7 assignments for the semester. You've got a couple tests, you've got a couple papers, you got a couple presentations. Yeah, that might look like a checklist, but it's not, because along the way, there's all these other sub skills and other tasks you need to accomplish in order to get to that big task that you eventually get graded on. Students in an online class don't think that way. They go, what's the assignment? All right, I'll do it. done. What's the next assignment? That's how they think of it. So they try to get it done as quickly as they possibly can because they just see the list and they go, all right, I'll just knock out the list. And what also happens is there's a grading problem too, because even when you lay out rubrics and you make videos or you even have discussions with them live where you're saying, here are the standards, here's what I need to see from you. Again, in their mind, it's just a list. It's just images on a screen. There's no building process going on like can happen when you're mentoring them in a real classroom. And so I encountered countless times where a student would do an activity and I would say, you get half credit. You only did half of it. And they're like, but I did it. I don't understand. Why don't I get full credit? I did it. I completed it. Look, it's green now. It was red when I hadn't done it. And now it's green because I did it. Why did I get a low grade? It's like, yeah, but you didn't do it the right way. And so hopefully you can kind of train that out of them, but that's not how they don't think of your online platform in the way you think they do. They view it as a list of tasks to knock out, and when I do that, ta-da, I've passed the class. And then I go to the next class where I do the exact same thing. Even the classes become a checklist. So the investment, the depth, the curiosity, the investigation that real in-person learning provides goes away completely with the online environment. Number 3, all of this adds up to an increasing feeling of the transactional nature of education, which has been going on for a little while now, where we go, all right, I have to enroll in that program to get that diploma so that I get this job. Everything is a transaction. I pay you money, you give me my diploma, I go to work for you, you give me money. Everything is a transaction. And look, I understand that's part of life. That is why some of us go to work. You do it sort of transactionally. But again, education, is that what we want for our children or for our young adults? That they only think of learning as a way to, what are you going to give me for it? If I read that book, what are you going to give me? If I write that paper, what's my reward? Rather than this kind of Aristotelian, goal of human flourishing, that no, I learn for the sake of learning because I become a better human being, that I develop my soul, that I develop my ability to be a good citizen, whether or not I get a paycheck for it, whether or not I get a grade for it or a diploma or a certificate for it. Yeah, we are aiming at some of those things, but that's not why we learn. We learn because we're people and we have, a mind that's capable of exploring great ideas. That should be the appeal of learning and the appeal of education. And the online format doesn't foster that. It only fosters, again, the transactional nature where it's like, here's this class, do it in 6 weeks and you get this certificate so you can get a better job. All right. Yeah, that's one way of thinking of education, but I don't think that's what we should be doing, especially in our very youngest students. Um, when you're 35 and you need some certification at your job, okay, fine. You've kind of passed that stage of your life. But for our young people, I hope we develop that more intrinsic motivation for learning. And the online format just does not do that. So we need to reduce that transactional attitude of learning. Number 4, many people do talk about this, but this isn't the way schools operate. We have to remember that very few students are actually capable of performing well in the online classroom environment. I don't know what the number is. I'm going to put it at about 5%. In my many years of teaching, that's who I see could flourish in an online classroom. 5%. That's not what schools do. Administrators and marketing people and all these, folks who really have nothing to do with the classroom, they don't know that. Or if they do, they don't care. Because why focus on 5% when I can have the other 95%? So what happens is schools advertise, join this program. Anyone can do it. Just enroll today. It's that easy. Look how convenient this is. You can do it, after work or on your lunch break. Or like, the appeal of the convenience overrides the fundamental problem that 95% of those people that you're trying to get in your program should not be doing what you're offering. Only about 5%, I think. Maybe it's 10, I don't know. I think it's low. Actually have the focus and the discipline and the organizational skills and the curiosity required to truly get out of this format of education what we hope they do. Again, the other 95% think of it as transactional. They're like, all right, just sign me up. What's the task? Let me do it. Give me my grade, please. I'm done. That's a really bad way to go through school. And that leads to a lot of students who aren't cut out for it because one of two things happens. Either that student finds out by the end of the first semester, oh, online learning is way more challenging than I thought. I have to be really organized to be able to set aside my study time, my reading time, my writing time to try to interact with my professor and then be patient so that when he interacts with me, like it takes a certain type of personality to be successful in that format. You have to be very autonomous, kind of an autodidact almost, where you like learning on your own. Well, almost no one is like that because if they were, they would be doing that already on their own, and they don't. They're only doing it to get the certification, which is what I talked about from the beginning. So, what we need to remember is 95% of the people in these programs are not going to make it because they're going to, like I said, they're going to realize that it's too difficult for them to organize their own life to manage it. Or what's going to happen, which is the second part, is the schools are just going to make it so easy that any dummy can do it. And that's what's happening is these two extremes that one, the kids can't cut it because they aren't organized and disciplined enough. Or if they do manage to get through it, the program was actually so easy that there really wasn't any educational value. And so now, yeah, you got a diploma with your name on it, but that university's reputation is not very good. And the people looking to hire you are going to be pretty skeptical because they know, yeah, you're probably not very disciplined. And even if you are a little bit disciplined, that program was probably too easy. You didn't learn what I need you to learn. So why should I hire you? So that's something we need to think about more deeply. And I think if there were some sort of test or rigorous interview process or some sort of, levels you had to go through to be admitted into an online program to make sure that the program aligned with you and your personality and your goals. Okay, again, I still don't like it because I prefer in-person education, but that would at least make sense because you're understanding that that there's a difference between students, that you're trying to build this online program specifically for these types of people. Okay, that's reasonable. That is not at all what happens. These people develop these online programs for the opposite. They don't care about the 5%. If you want to join, great. They care about the 95%. They care about where the money comes from. And focusing on 5% of people isn't where you make money. So they let in everybody. And again, if too many people start flunking, they just make it easier. And that's where the reputation falls apart. So the 5%, again, I don't know if that's completely accurate, but the general point I'm making is that we assume anyone can do it. It's so convenient and flexible and easy. You can be anywhere. You can fit it into your schedule. And no, you can't. You aren't smart enough to be able to do this. And yet that's who we market to. So that's something we need to think more deeply about. Number 5, we know for sure that the data is clear. Reading on screens is very different than reading a print book or article. Reading skills on screens are much, much lower. And yet, we're building whole platforms for students to do what in their classrooms online? Read a bunch of stuff when we know they don't learn that way, or they don't acquire their knowledge and skills very well in that format. And yet that's what we're building our education around. That's stupid. Again, if it were similar, or if there was no difference, okay, I could understand it. You're like, well, what's the difference if I'm in person and reading a book versus watching videos and doing it online? I'm getting equally as smart. It doesn't really matter. But that's not the truth. The truth is people retain more. They become much smarter when they interact with hard copy material as opposed to only reading on screens. And yet this is where we're pushing all of our kids into reading on screens and writing on screens, and all the interactions are on a screen. So if you want your students to have better comprehension skills, if you want students to have better attainment and memory skills, or retainment and memory skills, doing things online is not the way to do it. The science is very clear. And yet, everyone's rushing to enroll in online classes. So, from a reading standpoint and a knowledge acquisition standpoint, it's just simply not as good. So, why are we doing it? Number 6, the data is also now in, and it's quite clear that the more time that teenagers, especially, but also seems to be the same for adults, but teenagers are more susceptible to all of the mental health problems going on, from anxiety, depression, loneliness specifically. The more time that young people are on screens, especially in social media types of platforms, which an online learning management system is, it's a form of social media because you're accessing information, but you're also part of a group. You're part of a there's a teacher, there's other students around. It is a social media platform, and we know that the more time students spend on those, the worse their mental health becomes. And yet, just like reading, here we are shoving everyone into online scenarios. This was made so clear during COVID, where we already have problems with teenagers and their mental states these days. And then we shut down schools, we put everyone online, and what happened? Everyone got way, way worse, not just academically, but socially. And yet, here we are thinking this is the new wave of education. Everything's going to be better. And then we wonder why all of our anxiety, depression, and loneliness numbers have skyrocketed. Well, you schools are promoting it. That's part of the problem. You're shoving kids into their bedroom to sit on a screen for however many hours a day when they could be engaging with teachers who care about them and with other classmates that they can share ideas and form friendships and learn new cool stuff and hang out and do fun things. Like, why are we encouraging students to sit by themselves and stare at a screen? That's crazy. That's endangering them. And yet that's the move that schools are promoting. And it's something that people just don't think about enough. They think the convenience and the flexibility is so valuable that it outweighs all of the problems I'm talking about. And that's just not true. So if we want to have students with increased mental health problems, keep shoving them into online programs. Number 7, it overall just reduces human connection. And is that really what we want, especially for our young people? Don't we want our young people to learn how to adapt to certain social situations and deal with people who are different than they are and older than they are or younger than they are, or from different backgrounds, who are presenting challenging ideas that maybe we don't agree with? Like, we need to get people used to that, and shoving them into online formats just obviously decreases all of that. I wonder if we were to ask a parent, hey, you don't need to actually be present with your child. What I want you to do is I want you to make a whole bunch of videos, and I want you to write a bunch of articles. And when your kid is, 6 or 7 years old, just show them the videos. You don't have to be around. You can go do something else. You can live in a different house if you want. Just make sure your kids watch the videos, and they'll learn about parenting and about how to behave and how to grow up and how to develop, because your videos and your articles that you wrote, that'll be your parenting for them. I think every parent in America would go, that's stupid. The way you raise children is in person. I need to see you. I need to talk to you. I need to have, activities that we do together. It's a bonding experience. That's part of parenting and how you raise a child. You don't do it by showing them videos. You don't do it by having them read articles about how to be a good boy or how to do your homework or how to eat your vegetables. No, the parenting happens live, in the moment, in person. And yet, education? Nope, doesn't matter. Have them watch a bunch of videos. Have them be online. Have them stare at a screen all day. That's the same thing. It's insane. Or your doctor. Yeah, we all are kind of internet doctors now, where we can, my shoulder really hurts. I go on WebMD or I watch something on YouTube and I hear a guy go, this is probably what's going on. Here's some stretches you can do or something like that. Yeah, we all do that. But when it comes down to it, where I'm in real pain, or I'm truly sick, or I need a surgery, I need a biopsy, do I rely on something online? No, I go to see the guy. I want the doctor to talk to me. I want him to actually examine me. Why? Because it's really, really important. And the human connection matters a lot. So in parenting, in our healthcare, we don't rely on the computer to do everything for us. We want people interacting with us. But in education, we don't think that way. We think, oh, it doesn't matter. It's the same. Just have the kid watch a video. Have the kid go through this discussion board. It's the same. It's not at all. We're missing the human connection, and the more we push online classes, the worse it gets. Let's not do that. Number 8, pretty much everyone cheats. You might think, oh, well, not me, not my child, not my students. No, they're all doing it. Trust me. They've told me. I've asked them flat out, how much cheating goes on in the online class environment? They're like, oh, everyone does. Yeah. They share answers with other people who are also in the class. You're supposed to only use certain resources, and they're like Googling stuff over here, or what, they're texting their friends. What did you get for that? I was in charge of a foreign language class a while back, and I wasn't teaching it, but I was overseeing the people who were teaching it, and it got moved to online, and all the students were like, "Yeah, we just translate everything with the computer, so we aren't learning any of this." So that was when I realized, oh, it's really applicable to foreign language, but they're doing this in all their classes. There is no honesty in the online world. Again, I'm sure people are going to say, no, I promise I don't do it. I'm trying to learn. Yeah, I don't. You are a very, very small minority. Everyone everywhere is cheating all the time. So if you're a parent and you think your student is doing this great work online, chances are they're cheating. If you're a teacher and you have students in an online class, they're all cheating. Trust me. Number 9, not even adults take online training and education seriously. How many of you out there have, at your job, you need to complete some mandatory training, and so they give you this link, and you got to watch these videos, and you take this little quiz. How many of you take that seriously? I don't. I'm an educator, and I don't take it seriously. Whenever I've had to do those things, what does everyone do? I have the video playing on in the background, and because they track if you actually ran it or played it. I have that on some other computer while I'm on my laptop doing other work. And then you kind of wing it through the quiz. You can kind of guess the answers because it's not that hard. And if you miss any, you just go back and retake the quiz because they let you take it as many times as you want. Were you being educated? Did you learn from that online class you had to take? No, you didn't. What did you do? You saw it, like I said in number 2. It was just a checklist. It was just a transaction. The boss made me do it, so I did it. I did it with the least amount of energy possible because I have other things to do and I don't care about that. So yeah, I just did it to get it off my plate. And yet that's the way everyone thinks about education. All right. Again, because if you cared about it on your own, I wouldn't need my boss to train me on it. I would go learn about it on my own, but I don't care about that. It doesn't matter to me. So it becomes purely transactional, and I only did it because someone told me to. My boss, a parent, a teacher, it was just part of the transaction. So even those of us who are long past being in school, whenever we have to do these trainings to get some certification or, it's just part of some like federal mandate training or whatever, like, yeah, none of us take that seriously. And yet you think your 15-year-old or your 20-year-old in your high school or college classroom is taking it seriously? It's stupid. It's nonsense. No one cares about it. If it's forced upon you, no one cares. So yet, why are we doing that? It doesn't make any sense. Number 10, the thing that maybe no one realizes. Students are actually quite terrible with technology. Everyone thinks, oh, millennials and Gen Z especially, they've lived their whole lives with iPads and phones in their hands and playing around on laptops and all this stuff. They're great at technology. So let's get them using their technology to learn this stuff about history or science or literature or whatever it is. It's like, you are sorely mistaken if you think kids are actually good at technology. What they're good at is playing around on TikTok. They're quite good at that. They're pretty good at making an Instagram post. That's about it. Anything beyond that, anything that's like real world function stuff that you actually will use in your business someday, or anything that you need to do in your classroom environment, they're terrible at it. Here's a quick example. I saw this is in person, but then my online students were also awful at it. So you think, oh, the online kids, they're going to be especially attuned to technological learning. And I would ask them to do the most simple thing in the world, which is create a Google Doc for me. Because, of course, my classes were writing papers. And so what I do is I have them write on a Google Doc. So I go, write a Google Doc or create it for me. And they go, how do I do that? It's like, it's the most simple thing ever. Open your Gmail. First of all, they don't even check their email. That's something that older people don't realize is as tech savvy as you think these kids are, they don't even check email. Okay. So let's get past that first hurdle that they actually open up their Gmail. And you have to tell them, those 9 little dots in the right hand corner? Click on that. There's a whole bunch of tools you can use. One of those says Docs. Open it up. And then you got to teach them how to give it a title and click the share button and make sure the edit function's on so that I can provide comments on your papers. Walking through a Google Doc process is insane. And you think kids are so tech savvy, they don't know how to do the most basic things. So you could say, well, that's part of the training of being in an online class. But that's the easiest thing you do in an online class. I mean, usually you have to do all sorts of other, building things in a module or, doing stuff with labs or, there's all sorts of things you have to do that are way more complicated. And they don't even know how to create a doc. How are they ever going to do that? My wife has an employee who works for her. This is her first job. It's her first, move in her career. She's 20, 21, something like that. And she chose to pursue her career instead of go to college. And so this, she's fresh out of the gate. And she, in the business world, starting to get a little more busy, more appointments, more errands to run, more tasks to accomplish. And, she had been making lists, and my wife, who's also a list maker, but goes, why don't you enter all that stuff on your Google Calendar so you can remember when things need to be done and what time your appointments are and all the stuff for scheduling. Why don't you put it on your Google Calendar? And she goes, what's that? How do I do that? Google Calendar, just like Google Docs. It's already built into the system you already have. It's so easy. Young people don't know how to do it. So when we say, well, we need to go online because that's the environment that young people are used to. No, they're not. They're used to playing video games. They're used to being on TikTok and Instagram. That's the tech savvy thing, behavior you think students have. No, they don't know how to do anything. They'd be much better off in an in-person environment where a teacher could mentor them and guide them through the actual educational steps instead of spending half their time trying to figure out how a Google Doc works. I mean, it's crazy. So just remember that, all of you administrators and course designers and LMS people out there who think this is the wave of the future. Young people are terrible at technology. So think about that when you're trying to push them into online classes. All right, so there's the 10 reasons why online education is really not good. Here's the thing to think about. Schools, when they develop online programs, they're not doing it for you. They're doing it for them. Okay? When you think, oh, this school's offering me this course so that I can get trained and educated, they really care about their students. No. They don't care about you. They care about them. Yeah, they're giving you a service or a product, and that might be helpful. I don't know. But they did it so they could sell it to you. Okay? They don't actually care about the education part, because I just gave you 10 reasons why the education part doesn't work. What they care about is getting you to pay your money so that you're enrolled and then have a transaction where eventually they hand you a grade and a diploma, and that's in it for them. If you benefit from it, that is lower on the list. Okay, that's like a happy accident for them. They care about the money that you spent enrolling in this very convenient and flashy and cool and hip tech program. It's not about you. It's about them. So as I've been saying, it's not about the education. It's not about quality. I had a boss once, okay, in a faculty meeting. The head of the faculty said this out loud. We were talking about the direction of the school and how he and the administration wanted to develop more online classes. And so I'm rolling my eyes because I know all of this stuff is terrible. And he said, yeah, we want to give kids more access, but what's also great about it is we can get teachers for a lot less money because, we can basically just outsource it to the lowest bidder because, there's definitely going to be someone out there who's willing to, while they're on vacation or traveling around the world, who's willing to monitor this online class for only $1,000 or so. So that's a real benefit to us because it'll save a lot of money. And those of us faculty sitting there in the audience were like, did you just say that out loud? Did you just say that the goal of this new development of online learning is to cut corners and find the teacher who will work for the lowest amount of money possible? Is that the quality we're searching for? Because the normal, part-time, adjunct online instructor, depending on where you live and cost of living and all that stuff, is somewhere between like $2,500 and $3,000. If you're in a really expensive place, maybe $4,000. It depends. He's like, oh yeah, we could get someone to do it for like $1,000. We were like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's the quality that we're talking about. When schools say they're providing a quality online program, that's actually what's happening behind closed doors. So all of you students out there or parents who are thinking about sending your kids to online schools, that's actually what happens. Again, it's not about the education. It's not about what's best for you. It's about what's best for them. So you have to be very, very careful. Universities are supposed to be nonprofit. Now, I'm no idiot, and I'm more of a capitalist than anyone else in the world. So I'm all about making money. But the reason you're a nonprofit, like a church or a charity or a school, is that you're supposed to have a mission that's higher than just making money. You're not trying to satisfy shareholders from a profit standpoint. Your job is to fulfill the mission. And yes, along the way, you need to make money to make sure your doors stay open, but that's not your primary goal. It's to fulfill the mission. And a university's mission, or any other, doesn't have to be a college, but high school or anything lower than that could be the same thing. Your mission is to provide quality education that actually serves students and families. And that's not what's happening. Online education is, as I said, is not about quality instruction. It's about chasing money. That's all it is. Because if they wanted quality instruction, they would hire the best teachers and put you right in front of them so that you could learn directly with them. That's what the best education would be. Well, that's not what they're doing. They want you as far away from the teachers as possible so that you don't know that they paid the teacher as low as they possibly could to do as minimal work as possible, so that then you can do as minimal work as possible, and you both agree, we'll both do the minimal work and we'll both get paid, and you'll get I'll get paid and you'll get your grade and your diploma, and we'll both go our separate ways and we're done. That's what's actually happening. So if you're a parent or you're a student who is considering online education, you think you're going to pursue a degree in an online format at a university, just be very, very careful. The old adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, still applies. When you hear how amazing something is, that it's so flexible and so convenient and maybe it's cheaper and all these things, you're like, boy, this sounds perfect. This is definitely what I want to do. There can be no wrong with this. It's probably not real. All right, there's probably a huge problem going on there, and it's quality, it's reputation, all of that, and then go back through my list of 10 and you'll know what all the problems are. All right, so I know online education is going to only become bigger, and I understand that it appears to be very easy and a very effective and efficient way of getting your education, but make sure you think long and hard about it, because here are just 10 problems that show that it's not all it's cracked up to be. So hopefully universities or other levels of education can somehow get back on track to providing quality instruction where there's good relationships between professors and students who actually care about you and who want you to be great and care about your well-being, that you're not just a name on a screen somewhere while I'm on vacation making money off of this program, because that's what's happening. So, like I said, probably a bit of a controversial episode. I know not many people are going to like it. There's going to be a lot of dispute about, no, we do our online education better. I've been doing this for years. I know how all this works. So trust me, be very careful if you're about to pursue an online program. That's it for today. See you next time.